Now, a key aspect of small business recovery is the ability to hire the right talent, and that's proving to be a difficult task nowadays for a lot of folks. We're seeing a record number of job openings, but staffing shortages have affected sectors as varied as hospitality, healthcare, transportation, and so many more. Joining me now to discuss today's talent landscape is really a guru in this business, particularly for small businesses. My final guest, Ian Siegel. He's a legend, co-founder and CEO of ZipRecruiter. Ian, it's cool to talk to you. We've never met, but I'm a fan and have been following a lot of what you've been doing for years. Let me just open the door on this and ask you, in this time where there is this very wide gap between jobs that are open, jobs that are out there, and it used to be a job gap called a skills gap, but now there's a big gap. And I'm interested in, ZipRecruiter sees both sides of the equation. You have the job seekers and those, providing those positions. What's going to be the secret sauce of bridging that?
Well, that's the $64,000 question right now. And the job market is really a tale of two completely different recoveries. So if you go back to March of 2020, the job market in effect collapsed. Both employers and job seekers fled from the market. It fell as much as 80% in terms of new activity. And then here we are in 2021, and the employers are emphatically back. So without question, they are hiring. They have a rabid demand for talent. They are raising wages. They are offering more flexibility. They're offering signing bonuses. I mean, they're really pulling out all the stops. And yet, job seekers remain reluctant to return. And we ask ourselves, why are they reluctant to return? We look at the most probable causes for that, the things that everybody has been talking about for really the last 9 months. And that was, they were waiting for a vaccine to be developed. They were waiting for their kids to go back in school. They were waiting for the stimulus to run out. Well, guess what? All that has happened, and the job seekers still aren't coming back into the market. And we have to ask ourselves, does something more fundamental happen to the job market in our post-COVID recovery? Because we effectively all went through a grand social experiment over the last 18 months where we tried a different type of work, a different type of living, and over half of job seekers want to maintain that lifestyle. So pre-COVID, less than 2% of jobs offered remote or hybrid work. And post-COVID, 50% of job seekers are looking for that type of opportunity.
It's really fascinating because I've been in this business for a while and talking about these subjects. And it used to be the shtick was companies couldn't find the human capital, the quality of human capital they needed for the positions. So we needed to educate, we needed to train, we needed to do more and more, that it was a function of them not being able to access what they wanted. That's why they needed to go to India or China or other places, to find that talent around the world. Now the story that I'm hearing from you is, it's the companies that aren't good enough for the job seekers or the workers out there on the side, that they need to change. Am I getting that right?
Yeah, there's been a fundamental flip when we survey job seekers and what they're looking for. It used to be that the top three things they cared about in order of priority was salary, office location, and flexibility of schedule. Well, now it goes salary, flexibility of schedule, office location. So clearly there's been a sea change in the minds of job seekers about how they want to live their lives, not just work, but how they want to live. And I think the companies that grok that the fastest are going to have a significant advantage when it comes to recruiting talent. And what's really going to open the door to is probably a vast array of what I'm going to call nationwide recruiting solutions. Because for the first time ever in the American job market, employers en masse are showing a willingness to hire people and allow them to do their jobs remotely. This is going to be a very big change for the job market. And I think job seekers are seeing that those opportunities are emerging. And so right now they're holding fast. They're waiting to see if they can get one of those opportunities.
Ian, I don't know if you're familiar with the Venture Forward study that was done by the University of Iowa and Arizona State and UCLA's Anderson School. It was funded by GoDaddy, and I talked to their CEO, Aman Bhutani, about it. And these ventures are essentially micro businesses. He calls them side hustles, essentially, of people. They may have another job, they may not, but they're booming around the country. And I'm wondering if along the line of the so-called gig economy workers, you're seeing evidence that people are creating their side hustle, creating their micro venture along the line of what they're doing, rolling the dice and see where it goes. Because part of what we're discussing today is the digital economy, that small business in the digital world, and then there's another dimension which we were getting at earlier, which is exports. What are you going to do with the international system? But at that micro level, are you seeing that worker potentially doing a couple of different things simultaneously?
Well, pre-COVID, about 70% of the people that were participating in the gig economy did it as a part-time job to supplement income. They weren't thinking of it as a long-term opportunity. But during the period of COVID, there was an explosion of entrepreneurship and side hustles in America. And so certainly I think the creativity of the American job seeker was unleashed as people found many different ways, novel ways to make money, or more importantly, leverage existing platforms, whether it be Etsy or TikTok, where they found ways to make money that they may not have pursued if not given the opportunity. And those stories are multiplying and creating a significant increase in awareness of the range of opportunity that is available, just like people are focused on finding work opportunities that give them the work-life balance they're looking for. They're also looking for work that fulfills them and gives them the purpose that they're looking for. And there is probably no better purpose or no better work you can do than when you are your own boss. And so I think you're going to see that wave of entrepreneurship continue, particularly right now, because one of the other key factors in this is that Americans squirreled away the largest nest eggs they have ever acquired. And so their runway that they have before they're compelled to go back into the job market is long right now. And so I think we're going to see them continue to explore these side hustles.
Ian, just finally, this was so much fun to talk to you. I hope you'll come back. I've looked at your data a little bit, and I know that you work with large companies, you work with small businesses, you have insights into what that job seeker is looking at, and you've seen the spike in what they need to offer. We're also sitting in Washington, D.C. policy land. I'd just love to get your insights. If I were a big company, if I were a small business, I were the U.S. government could screw all this up one way or another, what are the things you would tell me are the blind spots that we collectively need to be aware of as we're approaching tomorrow's labor force?
Well, I mean, one of the biggest things the federal government has in its power to do is make it easier for small businesses to hire by letting them keep more of the money that they have. There's this great inequity that plays out in America where small and mid-sized businesses tend to pay taxes at much higher rates than their larger counterparts because they lack the means to hire the sophisticated accountants and lawyers who can help them navigate paying as little taxes as possible. 90% of businesses that are started in America will never make $1 million a year. Every dollar is precious. If we want to create an explosion of hiring, if we want to support these entrepreneurial businesses and these types of businesses that people really enjoy working at, because people like going to an early stage company because they can have a bigger impact, then what we really first and foremost need to do is reevaluate tax policy as it relates to businesses making under $1 million a year. And then on the job seeker side, this is a golden age to be a job seeker. And what I find so funny about it is there's a record number of job openings that are paying the most money they have ever paid, offering the best benefits they have ever paid. And yet there is not widespread awareness amongst job seekers of the opportunity that sits in front of them. And so I think as much as employers are struggling, job seekers are unaware of their leverage right now. So it will be very interesting to me to see when they do go back into market and discover this rabid appetite of employers, what that does to the psyche of job seekers, because suddenly they hold a lot of cards that they have not previously held. And it'll be interesting to see what it does to their negotiations.
So you heard it here, folks. Go renegotiate your deal is what I'm hearing, whatever it may be. Ian, it's a pleasure. Ian Siegel, CEO and co-founder of ZipRecruiter. I'm a big fan. Thank you very much for joining us today, and please come back.
Thanks for having me.
That brings us to the end of our program today. A big thank you to our sponsor, Alibaba Group, for its support, and to all of you attendees for joining us for today's discussions. They were great. I hope you go back and watch them all, share them with your friends. For any of you who have missed the conversations, we're going to have the video up on our website shortly. I'm Steve Clemons. Be well.